Guys, we're going to be live in a few minutes here. Hang around. We will start in about 12 minutes.
Ehi, che cosa ci fai qui? Questa è la mia live, non la tua. E poi non mi somigli per niente, quindi vedi di andartene. E qui è tutto pieno di cioccolata. E qui è tutto pieno di cioccolata.
Alright guys, well welcome back again to another stream. Let me go ahead and get the proper actual visual up here. So if you guys are taking a look right now, actually hold on one second. This doesn't seem to be coming in too well. Let's go ahead and get rid of this frontal page. So we're going to have to actually stream using a screen cap. The reason being, actually, I don't know the reason. For some reason, Strategic Command has not given us any sort of coverage for the screen cap. So let's take a look here and see if you guys can see what I'm seeing. Let's take a look. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on my end. Can you guys see the campaign name and like 1939 Storm over Europe, 1941 Operation Barbarossa? Can you see all that? And I'm trying to find it and I don't see a thing. Nope. Yeah, I was worried about that. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Okay, let me see what I can do. Let's see if this campaign comes up. It doesn't. So we may have to, I'll have to probably explain you guys at least the messages popping up. I'm not seeing any right now. Hopefully you guys are seeing the campaign start to pop up. If not, we'll go ahead, we'll grab another screen cap. I know you guys are hearing the actual music now, the sounds. That's a good sign. But let me know if you see any intelligence reports popping up on screen. That's what I think we're missing. So there should be intelligence reports popping up in the middle of the screen. Let me know if you guys see those intelligence reports. And that means we're off to a good start. But no pop-ups. Yeah, that's weird. Okay. Yeah, that is frustrating. No reports. Okay, well, we're going to get started, guys, so I'll essentially explain what's going on, and I'll read out everything that's being said. But essentially, we are playing World War III. As you can see here, this is World War III. It's starting in 1946, and in this case, we're going to be playing as the Soviet Union. I thought, for whatever reason, that playing as the Soviets would be a little bit more fun. We're on the offensive, we've got a massive army, and the Allies aren't exactly expecting us. Hello, Wavell, how are you doing, my friend? We're going to go ahead and jump in right now and try to get some kills and try to secure some territory. And I think I'm going to start off my attack by attacking Hamburg. So whenever anything happens, I'll let you guys know. Now, this is a user-made mod. The mod is actually called 1946, and at this point, if any of you guys have Strategic Command and you open it up and jump in and start playing, you're gonna have access to these mods. We've got 1946, the Cold War. We've got a number of other mods that essentially improve the base game, and these were all created by users. Now, if you guys take a look over here, this is Berlin. Something that a lot of people don't really seem to know is that, you know, a lot of people that are thinking about why East Berliners didn't just, or East Germans in general, didn't just climb over the wall and be over with it. Well, it's simple. And again, this is a fact that not many people know. But it's well represented in this game. And that is essentially that Berlin was taken by the Soviets, who also took many hundreds of miles west of Berlin as well. The difference is that the Allies were allowed to keep West Berlin. So even if you escaped from East Germany into West Berlin, you were still surrounded by a tremendous amount of Soviet, or in this case, East German land. And you had to somehow make your way through to freedom. So even just getting across the actual wall was not enough. In this case, we are trying to get rid of all Allied troops behind the wall, so now Berlin is completely under our control. We're also going to start moving in the north. Let's go ahead and try to cut off the enemy here. And one of the benefits of this actual DLC, or not DLC, this actual mod, is that we don't have to worry about too many text pop-ups anyway. I think you guys can notice that there's definitely been some changes to the models here of the ships. There's a bunch of other changes that Cheeto sent my way. I was not able, or actually I think it was Dunny, I was not able to grab all of them, but Cheeto, if you could post them below, essentially what this mod adds, that would be really cool. So I think we're going to go to Hanover, and look at that, unbelievable. Our first mechanized USSR unit has taken Hanover, or at least gotten a lot closer to taking Hanover. So let's go ahead and move in with some infantry. We will liberate the city in the name of the Red Army. Beautiful. There we go, and we're going to keep on moving. So let's go for Kassel. As you can see, we already have a large percentage of Germany. So really, we just have to walk through the British and American lines here and make it to France. Hello, Byron. How you doing, buddy? So as you can see, guys, I am moving the entire Soviet force up. Now, you could actually play this game with 3D units. So if your thing is sort of the 3D units, then you could easily do that. I prefer to play with the NATO counters. It's just me. So I'm going to keep these NATO counters for now. But if you guys want to see those 3D units eventually, let me know and we'll take a look. Is there any way to get those pre-alpha counters in the future add-on? I'm not quite sure what you mean. Take Frankfurt here. So look at that. We're already taking a tremendous amount of land, a tremendous amount of territory. I'm going to try to take Nuremberg, of course, where the Nuremberg trials were held. A lot of Nazi war criminals put to death, rightfully so. And there we go. They're going to continue moving forward. And let's move into Thuringen and finish off this garrison unit. Oh, I see what you guys, I understand what you guys mean. So basically you want to take a look at the 3D counters. Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look here. So I believe we can actually get them right here in game now. Let's take a look. Yes, we can. So let's go ahead and press OK. So this is what the 3D unit counters look like, and admittedly, the 3D unit counters in this particular mod are a little bit better than in the base game, particularly the general HQs. Before, you wouldn't have this big red flag underneath. Now, of course, you do, which is quite cool. Let's go ahead and get back to the NATO counters. I just feel much more comfortable with those. But for those of you guys that like the 3D counters, I actually understand it. It's they're pretty, for sure, but just a little bit confusing for me. And admittedly, when I first started playing this game, my favorite thing was the 3D counters. But once somebody got me to try NATO counters, I couldn't stop using them. So let's go ahead and jump into the options and get rid of those 3D units. I will put on national colors. This definitely improves the map itself. So national colors will sort of differentiate the colors of different countries and show us basically where our line begins. Yeah, I agree with Dally on that. I mean, just the grand strategy nature of the game, also the size. I think NATO counters are just a little better. Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move the infantry, or let's move the bombers. What does Hamianis mean? I think what he was talking about, Muso, is he wanted to see those 3D counters. So I think he meant, like, once you start the game with NATO counters, can you switch to 3D counters? The answer is a definite yes. That's always something you can do. You can always change. You can switch in between them if you want. Now, we also want to keep our generals fairly close to the men here because, let's face it, we're crossing all of Europe to get this victory. There's going to be a lot of things, a lot of supplies that we're going to need, and only our generals can bring them to us. Definitely Wavell, although we had a little tech error, which is that we can't get the mod screen to work, so I can only explain them to you. Of course, we are playing one of the mods now. This is the 1946 mod, and I might go back and actually read the explanation to you. This adds a lot to the game. It really does. So look at this. We're actually attacking Italy, and we're taking Udine. I'm going to go ahead and move someone else over here. But I think we'll move the artillery in to take Udine. There we go. So now the Italians are getting some Soviet influence. In this case, some Yugoslav influence. And if you take a look at Italy here, we also have some partisan units which could fight against the government garrison forces. Got some bombers as well. The bombers don't seem to be useful right this second. We'll use them eventually, don't worry, guys. Artillery. Thanks, Dave. That's the one. And of course, these mods have been added to this game just recently, guys. I mean, of course, they've been created for a while, and many of the people in the actual community, the Strategic Command community, have already played them. That being said, especially for guys like myself, anybody that has difficulty installing mods or just isn't that tech savvy, this is the perfect opportunity because we've put all these mods in the game. So once you jump into single campaign or single player, you're going to see those mods pop up immediately. They're going to be ready there for you to play with, and you can do what you want with them, essentially. There we go. We'll attack again. I'm going to keep moving forward with my infantry. I want to try and take Regensburg, but if we can't take it this turn, it's not the end of the world, although we just did. And just imagine the terror of all the people here on the front. You know, 1 second they're under Allied control, a few miles away from the Soviets, and they're like, I feel pretty safe here. But then all of a sudden the Soviets start showing up. Yeah, it's would be a really terrifying prospect. Let's keep on moving, though. We still got a lot of bombers and fighter planes, which we have not yet really used. Thank you, Dave Jiju. Very cool. So Dave Jiju put up the explanation of the mod there. And like I said, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, Strategic Command here does not, the system does not consider it a game. So we're unable to get, how could I put this? First of all, let's bomb this British HQ. We're unable to get that, you know, specific screen that shows everything. We're basically looking at the actual game screen itself, but without being recognized as a game. Again, very strange. Now we're going to fight north of Essen here. We've got Ritchie's headquarters. This is ostensibly a British general, General Ritchie, and we just wiped him out. Now, wiping out an HQ in this game is massive. It's going to help us big time, and of course, we want to try and wipe out all the HQs we can here on the front lines. Try to get this garrison. Got tremendous amounts of bombers. I'm not sure if anyone else has noticed, but also our tanks have 4 attacks instead of the usual 2. This probably has to do with the improvement of technology, although not much of technology would improve that quickly as far as I knew. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Ah, with the game running on windowed mode. Now that's actually an interesting idea. Let's see. That's an interesting idea. Hold on. Now, let's see if we have a windowed mode. We might not have a windowed mode. Yeah, I'm not seeing windowed mode here, unfortunately. Ah, because they're mammoth tanks. Very cool. So somebody just filled us in as to why the Soviet tanks get so many attacks. I did like your idea, though. Whoever mentioned the windowed mode, that was a very good suggestion. Nope. It's okay, we'll continue forward. I'll just have to read to you guys what's happening. Which, considering the fact that this was a user-made mod, there's not much to read. Essentially, what Dave put down is what you need to know. Once you play the mod, you will occasionally get messages like units spotted by intelligence, things like this. But unlike the base game, where you actually have messages pop up like partisans sighted here or partisans rose up, it's a little less likely to happen in this mod, and you don't get necessarily like a pretty picture explaining that. Like, for instance, we actually have a lot of partisan units. Look at the Greek partisans here. Got a tremendous amount of partisan units in Greece, tremendous amount of partisan units in Italy, and we just need to keep on trying to exploit them as much as possible. I'm also going to try to wipe out this Greek HQ, and we don't have to worry about Albania, because I believe Albania is already under our control. They're not directly under control of the Comintern, but they are a communist state. Let's attack again. These Greeks are going to fight very hard. I want to go ahead and try to wind them down a bit. Let's see if we can wipe out their HQ. And sure enough, one nice bombing, and that general is going straight to hell. Excellent. I want to see if we can bring the tanks forward. And over here we've got Thessalonica. Thessalonica, I believe actually is the way to say it, is actually my favorite Greek city. I've visited several places in Greece. Obviously, Athens is beautiful, but I actually got really sick when I was in Athens from food. But Thessalonica is beautiful, just beautiful. Amianos says, still talking about future add-on. I was not even expecting this one. Great idea to recognize the work and effort of the modders, but those two counter mods are the ones that interest me the most. I was disappointed a bit when SC3 released without those counters. Ah, I understand. Okay, let's keep on moving. There's a lot of movement to do in this particular mod. I don't know if we can bet in this game, because the game takes, and that's one cool thing about Strategic Command, it takes a very long time to finish. A very long time to finish. So I think we need to refund people, because there's no way we're going to finish, even if we had 6 hours, there's no way we would finish this particular scenario. And I like that about the game. It actually goes to show just the amount of replay value, the different ways you could play. Especially if you're playing vanilla from 1939, you can change the war completely. You can get the Portuguese to join Nazi Germany if you want. I mean, it's just amazing. Let's see if we can get these bombers a little closer. Yeah, nah, it's unlikely. I'm pretty good. And I'm playing as the Soviets. We have a ridiculous amount of units. Even if we start getting beaten, it's going to take them a really long time to totally beat us. But we will bring in some bombers to hit this first mechanized company. We just shattered. Wow, we just shattered a Belgian fighter group. A total Belgian fighter group. That's a really good question, Amianos. So I didn't get to read completely the message that was sent by a coworker, but I think, if not tactical nukes, some very serious missiles are possible. One thing I know is that in this particular mod, you can absolutely attack cities directly and actually end up wiping cities out. So I would assume that if not a nuclear attack, then a very, very serious incendiary attack. I do know that it has napalm currently. The game does have napalm, but I believe we probably have to play as the West to get access to napalm. And Dally says, yeah, the Finns strike. Have I heard about the 1,000 or so Portuguese who joined the Spanish Blue Division to fight the Soviets under the war? But I have not. I would love some information on that. For instance, I know that the Portuguese fought heavily in World War I, but I was always under the impression that during World War II there was no involvement whatsoever. At least not direct involvement. But as you mentioned, there were Spanish brigades, and Spain was technically neutral, so it would make sense. But I'd love to read about that. That's interesting. Some of these, how could I put this? Some of these vehicles confuse me, especially with the symbols. So, for instance, this one really confused me. But what it looks like, it's a second Wasserfall fuse VT anti-air gun. So this thing is basically used to stop enemy bombers, enemy fighter planes from reaching us, etc. Just look at this massive movement, guys. I mean, we've just got so many guys that we're moving forward here. We're going to try to get these bombers forward. These bombers right here. And we shattered an American HQ there at Augsburg. We probably also hurt Augsburg quite a lot, but hey, collateral damage is just fine in this case. And actually, I could have gone straight to Munich. Hello from Florida. Well, I am originally from Florida, Gainesville. It's good to see you, buddy. All right, let's keep moving forward. At this point, I mean, we have so many men in the Soviet army here. It's becoming a little intimidating, actually, even for me. No wonder Stalin didn't trust his generals. There's too many of them. We also have these Czech units that are working, or excuse me, not these Czech, well, yes, we have some Czech units and some Yugoslav units that are working to support us. Yep, there's the Czech unit. But the Yugoslav units are the ones I really love to use, and we also have Romanian units working for us, so we're basically attacking southwards to take Greece, we're attacking westwards to take Germany and France, and we're not attacking northwards yet, but you just wait, Dally, we'll get there. We'll get to you soon enough. Let's keep on moving west, and eventually we'll end the turn here, guys. I'm going to have to tell you essentially what happens. It's a paratrooper unit. Hello, Liard. How you doing, buddy? In a way, yes. In a way, yes. Which kind of makes sense. I mean, who knows what the Soviets really learned from the Germans? A lot of those records are forever sealed. Move the bombers over there. All right, here we go. Vienna, Austria. We're going to go ahead and take Vienna immediately. And we've liberated Vienna. Look at that. The hammer and sickle rises high above the city, showing our superiority. Hell, even the Hungarians have joined us in this ultimate fight for the future of Europe. All right, I think we're going to end the turn. Now, one thing I've noticed so far, and I'm not sure if this was intentional, usually when you unlock partisan units like this one, you can move them at least once per turn. In this particular scenario, we are unable to move them, at least as far as I've played. Just can't move them. I'm not sure why that is. Let's go ahead and open fire here at Köln. Nice shot at Köln, and no, it's not Cologne, it's Köln. So we've taken Köln, and wonderful attack there. Like I said, these mega tanks are able to fire quite a lot more. And we got some special forces here. Move them up. And we might as well go ahead and move some of our navy out. They seem pretty stuck. We'll just move them here near the Danes. We're probably going to end up attacking the Danes soon anyway. But for now, we're going to leave them alone. Should be 1946. So Wasserfall is possible. Das ist gut. Alright, we're going to end the turn here, guys. I just want to make sure we moved all of our units. We've pretty much moved anyone that's going to be important here. taking a look here, making sure that they're not going to do anything to try and get north of us, although I don't think they'd be able to break through anyway. Let's see here. Eventually we'll make it in here to Cuxhaven and Bremen. Okay, we're going to end the turn, guys. So we're turning it over to the Allies. So it says Soviet national morale falls with the loss of Murmansk. That's the first message. The second message, British industry and trade start switching to military production. Third message, Saudis rise against the invader. So there's a revolution in Saudi Arabia. We are not at all allied to them. So I'm guessing that's either a pro-communist or pro-capitalist revolution, either in support of us or in support of the Americans. Canadian supply convoys to the UK begin. Germany has a secret weapon, the Wasserfall, renamed Stalin's Fire. So that's really, really cool. So the Wasserfall, the V2, is... yes, Amianis, you're absolutely right. In this game, the V2 becomes remote-guided anti-air as opposed to a weapon of mass destruction. It's really used to destroy large groups of air units. So Wasserfall has been renamed Stalin's Fire. I like that. Let's take a look here. Sihon Minisub MSS. And we got a postcard. BT Fuse. Oh, excellent. How are you doing, Bill Runicker? It's good to see you. I was actually wondering, I know that you have some to do with these mods, with the game itself. And we were able to get a nice view here of the game, but we're unable to get the messages in the same view for whatever reason. We're not being recognized by XSplit Broadcaster as a game, so we're basically in Windows mode. If you have any way to fix that, do let us know. But that's very cool information. So Harry Kellogg, the guy that created this mod, apparently has also written some alt-historical novels based around this hypothetical war. I might be heading to Amazon later today to take a look. Very cool. Now, something else that happens in this mod, you guys didn't see because we're not getting those messages, unfortunately, and it basically it let us know that the Freedom Force has risen. Now, the Freedom Force is essentially a guerrilla force behind our lines, so a pro-capitalist, or more specifically, anti-communist guerrilla force, and there they are right there. You guys see those little yellow units behind our lines? Those are enemy guerrilla units. Much like we have partisans, they have the guerrilla force units, essentially partisans as well, and they're quite effective, and they're going to be messing with our industry, cutting off our rail lines, and just basically trying to make the actual mission itself a lot more difficult. Yes, they absolutely, Bill. And we kind of were under the impression that it would be easier to play as the Soviets here in the office, which is why I took them. Also, I just think it'd be fascinating to be the Soviet Union here and try to conquer all of Western Europe. Thank you for hosting us, Have You Played? Appreciate that. Ah, you just wanted to ask about partisans. Yeah, ask away. I'll try to answer whatever I can. Good to see you here, man. Ah, I understand. So it's been an issue before, Bill Ronicker. Thank you, man. Well, at least I know it's not entirely our fault on this end. In other words, it's just not something that that is being noted by the system for whatever reason. Again, I don't mind just reading it to you guys, but it's a little frustrating. Really appreciate you letting us know that, though, Bill Runicker. I don't feel as guilty. Quite a lot, Amianis. Quite a lot. We'll be finding it little by little during this mod. If you guys see the loading time at the end of this modification can take a while, and that's just because of the massive amount of units. But if you guys have ever played AGODs, this is not an AGOD game, but if you've ever played an AGOD game, I love AGOD games, you better get used to a long waiting period. I mean, it's just, you know, if you're going to play a good game, there's going to occasionally be some long waiting periods. Yes, there are definitely partisans in the game. The partisans pop up randomly, in case you were wondering, and occasionally, if you're doing really well in a country, especially in the base game. For instance, I was in Romania. I took, not Bucharest, but I took a bunch of towns near Bucharest. and a Romanian partisan squad popped up next to Bucharest, that can also happen. Ah, yes, Pride of Nations. Excellent game. Get to play the Boer War, which is just amazing. And it's really a war that I don't think any other game company has really played. Oh, I love Aliak Est, Dali. We actually, we did an Aliak Est stream here. We won as Spartacus. We also won as Julius Caesar here at the Slytherin headquarters. We definitely would do some more Aliak Est. The biggest reason why we don't stream games like Aliak Est, guys, as I've mentioned to you guys many times, we rely on you guys and your feedback to decide what game we're going to stream. And if nobody's asking for Aliak Est, it just never goes on our radar. You know, it's one of our older games. I love playing it, but, you know, it's just not something that, unfortunately, too many people are interested in. Yeah, that would be great, Bill Runeker, to check out why the messages don't appear. I mean, they always appear obviously when I'm playing the game by myself, but anytime I stream the game, they don't pop up. Yeah, exactly. Musso said it perfectly. All right, guys. So another message here: the Comintern Raiders have disrupted British Empire UK convoys, which is pretty cool. That's a question for the actual, well, yeah, I really couldn't answer that. I would have to wait for the creators of the game to actually tell you. All right, light cruiser spotted in the North Atlantic. Carrier spotted in the Mediterranean. Tactical bomber spotted near Metz. Heavy cruiser spotted in the Mediterranean Sea, and destroyer spotted in the North Atlantic. This is very close to Bermuda. Look at that. All right. Thanks for bringing me back, game. They just made me have to go all the way back here. All right. So, first things first, we definitely want to start moving into France. Eventually, we'll get to Luxembourg over here, but we can come in from the north near Koblenz. And I'm going to see if I can go ahead and start pounding the enemy. First things first, I'm going to bomb the enemy. So try to lighten up this target with some aerial bombardment. Let's move this guy in as well. And this is going to be a French unit. The French think they're ready for independence, but they're not. Not even close. Head to Mons. And I'm going to go ahead and see if we can bring in some more bombers here. Look at that. There's going to be some French interceptors, but we're absolutely going to try and fight them with our escorts. And those are two messages popping up right now: interceptors, escorts, etc. Okay, let's try and grab some arty. We're not going to be able to use the arty this turn, but eventually we will. I am going to bring in some more bombers, though. Although these bombers are usually used for infrastructure damage. The strategic bombers. They're not really used to destroy enemy units. They're used to destroy enemy infrastructure. Although they can do both. They can definitely do both. Let's move these infantry units in. Forward. There we go. I think we're going to have to lower the parameters of a victory here because of the fact that this game takes quite a while to finish. So either Musso is going to go ahead and refund you guys the slits, or we can make Paris our victory calling card. In other words, if we can make it to Paris, then we win. Something like that. Or even The Hague in the Netherlands. Let's head towards The Hague. What is this? Is this a neutral unit? Oh, it's a Dutch unit. So it is the Netherlands unit. I don't know why he's got that arrow pointing down. That could just be a mistake on the part of the modders, because the other guys do have Belgian colors, but the Dutch don't have Dutch colors. It's too bad. All right, let's keep on moving. And look at this. We've got Italians defending Wilhelmshaven. I wonder if Italian troops, because obviously the Italians were part of the Axis, up until they were beaten, and then the Republic of Salo was created with Mussolini escaping, being recaptured by the Germans and saved, all that mess. So I'm not sure if there is a possibility that the Italians assisted the Allied war effort at the end of the war. That's possible. I don't know 100%. Let's keep on moving. And remember, everybody south of Salo would be against Mussolini once the Allies actually began invading. And I think Musso would probably know this better than me, but essentially I think Salo is somewhere south of Milan over here, but north of Bologna. I believe it's in this general area in Lombardy. Could be wrong. Salo might be a little bit more south, but I don't think it is. Let's keep on moving. Western forces must be disorganized. There is no NATO yet. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so he says it's in North Italy. Ah, yes, Salo, Finland. So there we've got Mannheim. We're going to move into Mannheim, defend it now, sort of make this our new front line. And we're actually going to zoom out to give you guys an idea of the advances we're doing. So the advances we're making, I should say. So just look at that. We've taken essentially all of Germany. At this point, we're moving into France, Belgium, Luxembourg. It will all fall behind Stalin's mighty heel. Ah, thanks, Bill Runecker. That makes complete sense. So I actually would not be surprised to spot maybe some Italian units working with the British, Italian military units towards the end of the war. That would make sense, actually. Let's keep on moving forward. Some more Italians over here. Let's try to hit them with some artillery. But before we do, let's take Venice. Oh, yes. So our Yugoslav troops took Venice. They're going to have a nice time there. Go ahead and move forward here and defend Venice from the Italian infantry here. And let's keep moving forward with the Yugoslav forces. Now they got bonus. But the one thing that, and I understand this has to be a part of the mod, but remember that Tito, despite being a communist, didn't, as far as I know, did not officially join the Comintern. So in this particular scenario, I'm not sure Tito would have sided with Stalin. Maybe he would have just out of necessity because, you know, he would be trapped in the middle. But it doesn't seem to me that Tito would be in favor of a war like this at all. In fact, he would probably, honestly, side with the Allies. He might actually fight against Stalin, give them basing rights, or at least declare neutrality. He was not a fan of Stalin. Tito and Stalin were not friends. In fact, Stalin had tried to have Tito killed many, many times, and Tito actually wrote a handwritten letter to Stalin, essentially threatening him, and I'm totally paraphrasing, but he essentially said, you know, you've sent many, many assassins to try and kill me. They've all failed. We've caught them all. You know, if I send an assassin to kill you, I assure you he won't fail. And after that, Stalin stopped trying to kill Tito. He's like, yeah, all right, we can play ball. This guy's all right. He's just as ruthless as me. And we can accept that. Let's keep on moving through. Yes, would have played both sides against each other. Exactly. Very smart leader, Tito. Ah, okay, so Ammianus, that makes sense. Thank you, Ammianus. That would totally make sense. So in other words, in this case, Tito would support Stalin because he hasn't yet left the Comintern. Aha! We got an answer. See, this is what we love about having you guys here. Not just the fact that you guys get to see the stream, but you actually teach us a lot of stuff that we would otherwise not know. And we're a strategy wargaming company, so, you know, we learn a lot of this stuff from you guys. That totally makes sense, though. Let's keep on moving forward. A lot of these guys are still behind, although I don't think we need everyone for this assault. Exactly, it's alternative history. Pretty soon here, guys, we're going to go ahead and save game here, and we're going to take a look at another mod that has been created. And I want you guys to let us know what you thought about this mod down below in the comments. What do you think about the World War III mod? Are you guys enjoying it? Do you prefer vanilla? You know, what do you guys think? And keep in mind, these mods are all created by users. In the case of the guy that created this mod, as Bill Ronoker shared with us, he's actually also an author, which is just amazing. And it just goes to show you the amount of historical knowledge that has to go into the creation of these modifications in this game. It's pretty intense. Keep on moving. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks, Musso. I mean, I'd love to do the bets, guys, but you know, this is such a massive game. I mean that sincerely. We're just going to take a look at the map view here. To win, we not only have to take London. Actually, I think here we don't have to take Washington, D.C. No, we do. We do have to take Washington, D.C. So we have to take London, Washington, D.C., Paris, a lot. Basically, a lot. Yeah, it would be really tough to finish this game all at once. Thanks, Cable Nexus. So as mentioned, if you already have the game, you should already have the pack. If not, you can download it for free. Mod looks awesome. Thanks, Dave. It's definitely right up our alley. Right up our alley. I just had allies in mind. This is one of the things when you're streaming, you have to, you have to think, talk, and play at the same time. Occasionally, you slip up on a word. Right up our ally. I'll never forget that. That was good. Yeah, Tesker, absolutely. We looked at them earlier. I'll go ahead and pop them up again so you can get a view. So we're going to take a look at the 3D models. Now, most people that I've met prefer the non-3D models. That's just what I've experienced, but these are the 3D models. Now, one of the changes, I could say there's not many changes in terms of the 3D models with this and the base game. The one change I have noticed is the generals actually have the nation's flag underneath them, which makes them a lot easier to identify. When you're playing the base game, probably one of the few complaints I have is your generals just look like a guy standing in front of a desk. So, they don't really make you think general. They just kind of, they're there, but they don't really have much of a personality. There you go. Oh, I wish I knew how to play Shifting Sands, Dave Ziju. You might have to teach me one day, because I would love to stream some command here. That would be awesome. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead. We're going to switch back to our wonderful NATO units. I think Amianis is referring to this, the second Wasserfall. So the second Wasserfall, it's basically like, like a V2 rocket, if I'm not mistaken. In this case, though, for maybe the Geneva Convention stepped in and said something, but in this case, I believe you can only use this for anti-air munitions. Basically 2 intercepts as opposed to 1, although it does have 1 of 3 action points, so it might be able to attack ground targets. We'll have to wait and see, but I think essentially it's been V2s modified into anti-air rockets. Ah, yes, I see what you mean. I don't think it really has a 3D model. Let's take a look. I think the 3D model is just going to be an anti-air unit, which it is. In fact, unfortunately, this is as close as I can get, but actually, I do see a 3D model of a V2. You guys see right there, there's a little flame coming out the bottom. You see that? Sort of a rocket. It's not the greatest drawing of a V2, I'll admit. But hey, there's no way I could possibly make a mod like this, so that's pretty cool. So we got the V2 there on the left, AA gun on the right. Why didn't no one create the unthinkable scenario? What do you mean by unthinkable scenario, Kandra? Oh god, Cheeto. That hurt my head. Okay, let's see if we can go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and save this. Yeah, I know he has a point, but he actually gave me a headache. Because there's a point there. There is a point there. Okay, so let's save, guys. First things first, saving is pretty straightforward in this game. We're just gonna go ahead and rename this Cold War Scenario. Save. Ah, okay, so Unthinkable is the codename of the atomic bombardment of the Soviet Union by the US. Very interesting. Okay, we're gonna head to the main menu. And we're gonna take a look at another mod. Now, unfortunately, once again, I'm gonna have to read it to you guys, as opposed to you guys actually seeing it, because it's got some pretty cool visuals, like a really pretty picture, etc. So, we've got 1938 Calm Before the Storm. So this is obviously set 1 year before the actual war. No, I didn't say there are tactical nukes. I said there might be. There's definitely V2s, and there's definitely napalm. But I'm not sure if there are tactical nukes. There might be. There might be tactical nukes. Yeah, we can promise you that the picture is really beautiful. So this one is also made by the fellow who just joined us, Hubert Cater. Or I believe he did the AI for this. So this is 1938, before the war starts. We've also got the Advanced Reich 1939 campaign and the Advanced Reich 1941 scenario. I'll do my best, Ali. Well, basically, this one is a burning black hand across the map of Europe with Game of World War II Grand Strategy next to it. It's actually not that impressive in terms of the actual image. The mod itself is beautiful. So we're going to jump into the Advanced Third Reich scenario. And there's something you're going to notice almost immediately about this scenario, and I want to see who notices it first. So let's see. Let's see who notices it first. Anything you guys notice about the flags in this scenario that's a bit different? So this is the 1941 Reich scenario, and it tries to fix a few things with the game. One of the things, it's gotten rid of the hexes. The map is a bit smaller. I would say a little bit easier to control. The Germans are in this sort of black tile. Yes, you got it, Piddly. You got it. Everywhere, everywhere, indeed. So this is one of those mods that's really not politically correct. Goes out of its way to just be, whatever anybody would like to play. Now, I haven't played this mod long enough to really give my thoughts or opinions on it entirely. One thing I can tell you is the weather effects seem to work really well. For instance, when it's snowing heavily or something like that, I can only move my guys like 1 or 2 spaces, and that seems to be quite realistic. Of course, we're not yet at war with the Soviet Union in this mod. We are at war with the British, etc. Can actually send our ships out. You can also see that the models, the NATO counter models, are a little bit different than anything else. It is history, yes, it is. 3 stream pan in 3, 2, 1. Yes, Germans. At least we're not on YouTube, Muso. Then it'd be different. Our entire channel would be demonetized. We'd have to be careful. So here we go. So essentially, that's really one of the main changes. But, more importantly, the major change is if you zoom out and take a look here, you guys notice anything? the map is much smaller. If you looked at the map we had in our last battle, it was much larger. The fact that the modder was actually able to minimize this map, to me, is incredible, because the strategic command map is huge. And this guy actually managed to make a much smaller version of it without tiles. And in some instances, I think that could be helpful, especially if you're like me, you've got a job, you don't have a lot of time on your hands to play games. This would be the mod for you. Also, if you do like the realism, and yes, the swastikas do add realism, then this is also probably the mod for you. So I would definitely jump in and take a look. We're gonna go ahead and end the turn. Hopefully, I'm hoping that that we declare war on the Soviets here pretty soon. Let's end the turn. So right now it says variant Z plan accorded higher priority. Variant Germany expands airborne capability. Canadian supply convoys to Britain begin. United States Lend-Lease convoys to Britain begin. Wow, the British have completely destroyed us there. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah, I do. I know I tend to talk non-stop, but occasionally I do take a break. Occasionally. So if you hear things go quiet, chances are I'm still around. So of course we're playing right now as the Italians as they invade Greece. We've got some British units here helping defend the Greeks with their delicious food, their delicious feta cheese. It's all mine. Attack. I should try to bring some bombers in here. Nope. What about our Navy? Oh yeah, nice. Nice shot. So we actually managed to do a lot of damage there to the 8th Infantry Corps. Although just not nearly enough units to make much of a difference. Our beatbox to fill the time just so we know you're there. Jeez. I think I'd rather kill myself than try to beatbox, but I'll keep that in mind for sure. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna exit this mod. Now, would you guys like to see a continuation of World War III, or do you guys want me to play Operation Overlord in World War II, so you guys can see the vanilla game and get an idea of what that looks like? Let me know. In fact, Cheeto, if you can make a poll, straw poll, let's say D-Day or World War III. We'll do that. And we're going to head back to the main menu. There's another part of this game which I, interestingly enough, just realized recently, and I'll show you guys once we get to the creation. Hold on, we're gonna have a straw poll. There we go. Thank you. We'll check in a few seconds. Let's see. Okay, I think overwhelmingly people are voting in favor of D-Day, so we're gonna go for D-Day, and I think it's actually a really good idea because this, you know, D-Day really allows you to get a feeling of what it's like to play this game, and it's vanilla, so anybody can play it. So since you guys can't see the actual thing popping up, and I'm glad that Hubert Cater popped in to let us know that this is not the first time he's experienced people with that issue. So it's nothing that we can do on our end. It's just unfortunately the game is not showing you guys some of the screens here that you otherwise would see. So I'm going to read it to you. And we're going to be starting on 1944 D-Day to Berlin. It's actually the last vanilla campaign available. Tally says the Great Emu War. I hope we can't bet Conjure because it's going to take too long to play. The Great Emu War was literally a war against emus. Basically, emus were eating a lot of, I believe this happened in Australia. They were eating a lot of crops, farmers' crops, and so they gave all these farmers machine guns, and they actually didn't manage to kill a lot of emus. I think the second time around they managed to kill a lot, but the first time they missed a lot. Emus are extremely fast creatures. So, 1944 D-Day to Berlin. The war is now progressing in favor of the Allies, and the time has come to defeat the Reich. On to Berlin. So I'm going to jump into the campaign, and I'm not sure if you guys can see the screen. You probably can't. But basically, we've got a choose sides option. Now, in the choose sides option, you've got the Axis, and you've got the Allies. If you take the Allies, you're going to be playing with every single one of the Allied nations. If you take the Axis, you're going to be playing with every single one of the Axis nations. But if you click around on the flags, you can actually decide what nation to play as. So let's say you don't want to control the entire war effort. Let's say you just want to play from the Soviet side, or you just want to play from the Western Allies side. You can make that happen. It's totally up to you. In this case, we are going to play with all the Allies. So we're going to be playing with the Soviets, the Americans, the French, the British, against the Germans. But let's jump right in there. Here we go. Canada run. Sadly, I don't think Canada can be played with alone. I think the options are Italy or Germany, and then the allied options are the Soviet Union, America, Britain, or France. Okay, intelligence reports cavalry corps spotted in depression. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. So actually, we're getting a little mix here. If you guys are taking a look at the counters, this is weird, to say the least. Yeah, we're getting a mix of the mods. So our mods are getting mixed up. This is quite weird. What we're going to do, guys, we're going to exit completely, and we'll come back into the game. So let's just cancel that. That was strange. Play the game again, and hopefully our mods don't get mixed together. Now remember, this just recently happened. We just recently added these mods to the game. So quite frankly, if no, you can't see the messages. Quite frankly, if we have that issue again, it probably just means some bugs need to be worked out. So we're gonna try and play vanilla again. That was definitely not vanilla, what you guys just saw. Yes, the Ultra Nazis, indeed. All right, so we're going to do a single player. And no, you guys are not going to see the messages. I'm going to have to read them all to you, unfortunately. Yeah, that's just the way it's got to be. So, D-Day to Berlin. Play the campaign. Play as the Allies. We've got national colors on. Oh yes, World War III absolutely is a mod, but we're playing vanilla here. We're playing World War II, D-Day to Berlin, 1944. Intelligence report, fighters spotted in Galati. Intelligence report, heavy cruiser spotted in the Baltic Sea. Okay guys, report on Allied war aims. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of the liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. I have full confidence in your courage and devotion to our duty and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Signed, Dwight D. Eisenhower. So there we go, guys. really cool intro with a fascinating and true message and real message from Dwight D. Eisenhower. No, you're not, Cheeto. You just play too many MOBAs and not enough strategy games. That's your problem. So here we go. We're starting off over here as both the allies, the Western allies, and the Eastern allies. So the first thing, I'm going to be moving the Eastern allies, of course, first. We're in 1944, so at this point, we can go ahead and start taking on enemy tanks. Here at Vitebsk, we can try to overwhelm the Germans. Ah, yes, a great crusade. Well, wasn't it FDR that did the Great Crusade speech? I think it was FDR, not Eisenhower. We're about to embark about a great crusade. Let's fire here. Totally missed Vitebsk. That sucks. Well, we just fired 3 volleys with our Katyusha rockets. Didn't hit Vitebsk once. What I am going to do, though, is send these guys cutting through behind the enemy lines. Now, one thing about this game is that rail lines, depots, etc. are very important. So if you guys see what I did there with my infantry, I basically cut off rail support to Vitebsk. They could still get rail support down here in the south from Minsk, but if we can cut that off, they're going to be totally cut off from all of their forces. They're not going to be getting food. They're not going to be getting ammunition. They're not going to be getting any sort of supplies. And as you guys know, an army marches on its stomach. So without food, you know, they're pretty screwed. And it's only a matter of time until they basically just fall apart. Keep firing here. Here we go with the rocket artillery. It's going to be the Katyushas. Finally, a nice hit. There we go, getting some nice hits here on the 6th Corps, the German 6th Corps. Move up the tanks from Smolensk. And yeah, sure enough, that was a nice win there. I think we can get a second attack. So as you guys see here, if you guys were watching during the World War III mod stream, there we go, sorry guys. If we're doing the World War III mod stream, you can generally see that these positions can be attacked 4 times, but in World War II, even with the best of the tanks, you can only attack twice, which is pretty good considering that infantry can only attack once, etc. So let's do that. Okay, let's see. Go ahead and fire off some rocket artillery shots here. Fire again. Yes, have you played? The tide has turned. Indeed. Thank you, Bill. So Bill actually just added some interesting info there that even if a target doesn't suffer damage, the rockets will lower the morale and readiness of the targeted unit, making them easier to destroy when attacked. And I'm guessing that also applies to bombers, because I've had a few instances where I miss with my bombers, but the enemy unit does seem to be somewhat weakened from the bombing run. Let's actually try one right now. Enemy's got some interceptors. And I want to take Mogilev, but I think first we want to focus on this side of the Don and basically just try to go ahead and waste the enemy units that are stuck on this side of the river. Let's go ahead and hit them again. And they've got their own defensive artillery there. Excellent. There's also an anti-tank position here. And I'm actually going to attack the anti-tank position. Several reasons. Probably the most important being we've got a tank right there. So I want to try and lower the damage done here. Hey, Gamer1745. Ah, good to know, Bill Ronecker. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I wanted to initially say Bill Ronecker, but I think Ronecker was kind of what I had in mind. Let's see. move north here. And we haven't even gotten started on our Western allies. So you guys can see that, I mean, this is taking a long time. Just to show you guys also the map. Remember I told you guys that the map for the German scenario was actually smaller. If we zoom out here, let's just zoom out once we stop bombing this area. You can see this map is much larger than the map he created. He essentially shortened or made Russia smaller. He made Germany a little bit smaller as well for the 1941 mod, which is pretty interesting. I'm going to try to get this guy back, so I want to move this guy into his place, but I don't think it's going to work. I'd love to get a unit into the place here and just try to destroy that unit at Vitebsk, but I don't think it's going to happen. Let's try to hit him with some bombers, though. Interceptors. And we've got some escorts, some fighter escorts. Took out 2 enemy fighters. We lost 3 fighters. We lost 1 bomber. And we shattered the enemy units at Vitebsk. Beautiful. Unfortunately, we can't actually... Oh, yes, we can! We can get in there this turn. It has been liberated. Absolutely wonderful. That makes sense. When you go to France, it's completely different again. Yeah, so I think Ronecker is the one I'm going to use. The original pronunciation. Well, I'm so tempted to call you Bill Runacre. Alright, let's move up here. And guys, for those of you that don't know, Bill has created a tremendous amount of the AI for this game. Just done an excellent job. And it's one of the reasons why this is probably one of my favorite World War II games out there. Number one, the scope is huge, but the AI is quite challenging. And you can also play around with your own men and come up with some really interesting historical outcomes during the war. Now, there are a few outcomes that are impossible as far as I can tell, or as far as I know. One of those outcomes that's totally impossible is if you're playing as the Germans, and I've had this happen before, you can get really close to the Americans in terms of diplomacy, but they'll never actually join you. So you might be able to keep them out of the war, but you'll never have the Americans join you. It's just not going to happen. And actually, we'll take a look at that part of the game, which we should have looked at before. This is the diplomacy screen, although I'm not sure if you guys are seeing the diplomacy screen. Once again, we do have that issue where just unfortunately, and Bill just mentioned it, we're not able to get the text. So you guys are not seeing the diplomacy screen. Sorry, guys. But basically, from this diplomacy screen, you can try and sway certain countries towards you, towards your side, or against you. And a few of these countries can actually, totally turn in your favor. So, for instance, you could get the Turks to join you in the war, this sort of thing. The same is true for the purchase screen up here, the new unit screen. All of these screens play very important parts of the game. Yeah, and sadly, we can't look at them this time. But we'll certainly, we'll see what the guys at Strategic Command can do about it. No worries, Bill. And maybe there's something that we can work out with them. We're fairly close to the team. And maybe see if they can find a workable version so the next time we do a stream of Strategic Command, we can actually see the text. And we've tried all sorts of workarounds, which we just hasn't worked. I think the biggest issue is it's not recognized as a game by the system. So I'm guessing the system thinks it's just some sort of web page that we're opening up here, which is a little annoying when you want the game to recognize, or you want your system to recognize a game, and it's just like, that's not a game. Yes, it is. No, nonsense. Wherever you invest your turn, let's say Turkey or Spain on your side, allies double it. Do I use OBS? No, we use XSplit Broadcaster. We do have OBS. So guys, we're going to start dropping off our men here, and this is, of course, Operation Overlord, D-Day. We're going to start dropping our guys off here in the AV boats. First things first, I want to try to soften up the target here at Cherbourg. Some Canadian destroyers. Canadian destroyers. Let's go for Cotton. And let's get some boys over here. Oh, yes, absolutely, Byron. Absolutely. It is definitely, you can definitely see the projected losses. Quite an important part of the game. Alright, we're going to try to move this guy out. And actually, we can move... I don't like the fact that our HQ is here. We'll move him towards Cherbourg. But yeah, having an HQ so close to enemy units is not good. Let's see what general that is. I think it's Bradley. Yep, it's Bradley. Get some Canadian tanks. Canadian tanks! Okay, unfortunately, our corps suffered landing casualties. There was some British infantry corps there. We took some nasty hits landing. And we've got a few other units here that we can actually send out. These are paratroopers. We're going to move them behind Rennes. We do have some German interceptors, though. And we got some British escorts trying to stop them, but I think they're going to damage the unit. And primarily, with these paratroopers, I'm going to do what the paratroopers were doing during... Operation Overlord anyway, and that's going to be I'm going to try to cut off all of the rail lines here to the enemy. If we're able to cut off the rail lines, they're not going to get any support here, and they're going to be in a world of shit. They're just not going to be able to get out of it, and they're going to have to eventually retreat. Let's take a look here. Anyone manage to turn Ireland to the Axis? That would be quite interesting. We have one of the few Canadian Shermans to survive D-Day chilling in the park in my hometown. Wow, Piddles, that's cool. Very cool. Okay, so another thing is transporting units. So for instance, if I want to move this unit from Portsmouth, I'm going to go for amphibious transport, and we have to spend 62 MPP. You get a certain amount of this depending on how many towns you've taken, how well you're doing in the war, and you use that to essentially buy units. So we've got more than a few units here that we're going to transport across the English Channel, but it could take some time, maybe a turn or two. Bill says he has heard of somebody getting Ireland to join the Axis. Very cool. That would be a hell of a fight. Sort of having landing bases in Ireland. You could use that to leapfrog into the UK. Yeah, Le Havre will be taken back, but I think this unit's pretty much finished, and at least I can cut off some of their rail temporarily. And let's try to send out some bombers from Exeter. Try to wipe out that garrison unit. Oh, some fighters from Paris trying to stop us. And I think we can drop this unit. And there we go, American Tank Division. Unfortunately, they did take some casualties, but I think they're going to destroy this garrison unit. And it's going to make it a lot easier for our men to drop off. Let's bring the cruiser in, the light cruiser as well. And the Glasgow light cruiser was a disappointment, to say the least. Yeah, I would be careful with posting messages in the chat. We do appreciate it when you guys link back to the site, but we've got to be careful in terms of videos and stuff, or people's channels. Just the reason being, you know, there's so much room for hacking and for people to, you know, post some sort of, you know, malware link or whatever. So we do have to be a little careful with that, guys. Sorry, but it's definitely a rule we want to try to follow. Let's see. No worries, gamer. I totally understand, man. We don't hold it against you, and quite frankly, we know you from other streams. We know who you are, etc. It's really just a general rule. It's you know, if we let everybody do it, everybody will. Obviously, if your link is linking back to Matrix Games or one of our channels, that's fine, not a problem. But we have to just take every precaution we can. Not a big deal at all, man. We know you didn't have any bad intentions or anything like that. And we have used OBS in the past. We prefer XSplit. It's just for what we do, it's a little better. But OBS has its uses, absolutely. First of all, it's free. That's one great thing about OBS. There we go. Bombed another garrison position. I'm moving this guy to Portsmouth. I've actually got a friend named Peter who lives in Portsmouth, but he hates it. He says it's the worst place on earth. But every time I see it, I always think of him. I'm always like, oh, yeah, I know that area. I kind of know that place. Okay, let's move the battleship out of the way here. I'm actually going to have the battleship attack the enemy troops. And as Bill Runeker stated earlier, even if I'm just bombarding these troops but not getting any sort of hits, I'm still going to do some damage to them. You know, they're still going to be terrified. They're getting bombed by freaking battleships. Anybody's going to be terrified by that. So, in the meantime, let's try to get some more bombers out. Oh, that's not going to go so well. Hit the guys in Cherbourg. Okay, and... gonna go behind Khan. And we're gonna totally cut Khan off. Completely cut Khan off there from any rail support. I mean, Le Havre is under our control, so they're not gonna get in through there. Let's move in, and that's our British HQ division. I was hoping that we didn't have to drop an HQ. We could have actually checked beforehand, but we're just kind of going crazy with the amphibious transports. Just like, yeah, this will work. Let's do the amphibious transport here. Yep. And again, this game takes a very long time to finish. For me, that's always a good thing. That means to me, that essentially means that the replay value is huge. And I accidentally just dropped this unit off. Didn't mean to do that. The replay value is huge in this game. So that's one of the massive bonuses. And this is 1944, so this is towards the end of the war. And I promise you, this will still take you at a minimum 6-7 hours to complete, even if you're really, really good. There we go. But this is the kind of game, you know, I play a few turns, I save the game, I play the next day a few turns, save the game, etc. So this is the Italian front, and the Italian front, much like the real Italian front, is really dangerous. Really, really dangerous. See, the problem is that there are just so many mountains in central and northern Italy that it's quite easy to defend the area from any sort of invasion. So generally speaking, when I play against the Italians in this game, and really it's mostly German troops, not Italian troops, it's mostly German troops in Italy, when I play against the Italians in this game, I've barely ever broken through. What generally happens is I manage to get my guys over here to southern France, then I cut off the enemies from the north here in Lombardy, and then I move down south and basically just crush them between both my forces. But I would recommend, and this is just my recommendation to newer players, if you're going to play Operation Overlord, don't worry about the Italian front. Or I should say, don't worry about being offensive on the Italian front. You know, try to keep a defensive front. Try to keep everybody in line. Reinforce your troops when you need to, and just be very careful because this front is just a death trap. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look around. We've still got more stuff to do. That's right. There's still a lot more men to attack. Let's go here. So even though we're gonna take a little loss here, I'm gonna go for the attack. Enemies do have some artillery. Yes, the naval aspect. Well, yeah, and another thing, I'm actually glad you mentioned that, Amianis. So in this game, you can actually sort of mess with the enemy trade, or mess with basically, well, just about anything. I mean, you can mess with trade, you can mess with rail transport, etc. As far as messing with trade, what you want to do is you want to find a submarine. And for the Germans, right now we're using the Allies, so we don't really need a submarine, quite frankly. but I'm just going to show you with the battleship to give you an idea. Let's say I was playing with the Germans, right? Let's say this battleship was a subunit. You guys see this red line? You're always going to see this red line, and what this red line represents is a trading, a sort of trading area. Generally, most trade ships will come through here. So if I had a submarine, I'd put them like here, and then I have a chance anytime a merchant ship passes by to sink it. And obviously, if I sink enough merchant ships, that's going to hurt the war effort on the Allied side pretty significantly. And that can really win you a lot of points in this game. Let's go over here. Open fire. Also, I want to say hi to our friends on YouTube. I know we always chat via Twitch, but that doesn't mean we don't love you guys over on YouTube. We always upload our videos to YouTube, but for the most part, our chatting goes on Twitch. So if you haven't yet taken a look at our Twitch channel, or you haven't seen it yet, you want to head to Slytherin Group on Twitch TV, and you will find a little lizard, a green lizard, or a black lizard on a green background. That is our company's logo, and that's where you want to head to. Also, please do, Muso, share the channels with them so that they can also sign up there. We're going to go ahead and keep on attacking. Again, you gotta lose some to win. That's just the way it is, and especially here on the Eastern Front, you absolutely have to sack a few units to be able to push the enemy back once and for all. I've had to lose quite a few units on the Eastern Front as the Russians just to push through the German lines, but the fact is you've got more men than they do, more material than they do, and they know it, and eventually you're going to break through. As long as you keep at it. I'm trying to move this guy in. Oh, too bad we did not get an attack. Move the train up. Bischoff is usually a little difficult to take, but taking this particular town would help us quite a lot because we could start advancing from the north. There's also the Finnish front. Generally, I like to not attack on the Finnish front, very similar to the Italian front. I don't want to mess with the Finns. Dally knows. But essentially, as far as the Finns go, I try to just keep this front static. Occasionally I'll attack, and one thing I generally always do is I'll always take one of these garrison units and just start moving into Finnish territory, just to kind of get their mind off the front lines and force them to retake this land. Let's see. This one is more complex, Cable Nexus, but not Aegeod's complex. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You know, left click to move, or left click to select, left click to move. Obviously, you want to know a little about your units. Like, this is an anti-tank unit, so I'm going to go ahead and attack the German tank unit here. And we actually ended up taking more damage there, but we definitely did some damage. But I would actually say, in terms of strategic command, I quite like this game. And for instance, I'm terrible at command. I can barely play it. This I can play quite well, and I think once I picked it up, within about an hour, I was playing a campaign and pretty much picking everything up. So I would say, actually, for a grand strategy game, I would call this a good starter. I wouldn't consider Order of Battle a grand strategy game. I would consider it more a strategy game or a war game. But for grand strategy, I would actually consider this one of the easier ones, believe it or not. And not in a bad way. I mean, it's still a complicated game in terms of the tactics, but the UI is quite easy to work with. I think we've done just about enough. Oh, we've still got the Romanians to deal with. I almost forgot about our Romanians. Talking about them like they're our slaves, our Romanians. Well, they will be soon enough. Slaves in the gulag. And unfortunately, they have a really nice front here. It's mostly because it's mostly German units. I think we're going to have to wait on the Romanian front a bit now. And we'll end the turn and turn it over to the Deutsche. So Deutsches Reich. All right, let's do that, guys. So I'm going to read all the messages to you. Soviet morale is boosted by the Allied landings in France. It's one of the messages. No worries, Cable Nexus. And now we just got a really cool picture of Yugoslav partisans, and it says Yugoslav partisans rise against the occupation. And it's basically a picture of guys in basically civilian uniforms, some military uniforms, carrying rifles up a hill. Really cool image. Albanian partisans mobilize, and once again, another image. This time they're carrying a black flag. Maybe some anarchists there. And Soviet partisans hinder supply. Two beautiful Soviet women. Soviet women didn't really have makeup. I'm sure they would look really great if they had a little makeup. Let's put it that way. And they've actually dropped some partisans behind the lines there. So with these partisan units, you can obviously try and mess with the enemy railroad systems. You can try and attack the enemy units in cities, etc. And it's just fascinating. Okay, Germany announces the formation of the Volksgrenadier Corps. So, does anybody know what the Volksgrenadier Corps is? So, the Volksgrenadier, Volk is essentially translates directly to folk, and the Volkssturm, investment in the Volkssturm strengthens German resolve. This is essentially a civilian unit. Exactly, Dave. Yeah, Chico, they're not working in game. We talked to Hubert Cater, and he's not sure what to do either. Just kind of the way that it seems to be happening for us right now. You wanted to see those Soviet women. Yeah, I don't blame you. Well, let me put it this way. They were certainly pretty, but if I was across the battlefield from one of them, I would probably run immediately away from them because I don't want to be killed. They definitely looked like they were capable of using the rifles they were holding. All right, some more Soviet interceptors there. We're trying to stop the enemy. They're definitely trying to bomb our front lines here. Also, if you guys are taking a look at the Pripyat marshes, which have been a staging ground for not only some really great games, but some pretty decent horror movies, you never want to cross through the Pripyat marshes. And it's not just because of the evil demon men that I know live there, somewhere in those marshes. We just haven't found them yet. But the Pripyat marshes take forever to traverse. You know, obviously, if you're trying to move tanks through a swamp, that's practically impossible. If you're trying to move infantry through a swamp, you have the same problem. Try to avoid the Pripyat marshes unless you're really, really looking for a long game and looking to make your men's lives just an utter nightmare. Stay away from the Pripyat marshes. We'll take a look here soon when our turn is back and show you guys where that area is, essentially. Terrible location, just a part of the world that I'm almost amazed that people actually live in those marshes. Those marshes ruined my ignorant self in Revolution Under Siege, says Piddles and Squishy. Oh yes, that's a yes, that's the same city, Muso. That's the one, Pripyat. And interestingly enough, Pripyat is sort of the beginning of the marshes. I mean, the marshes themselves, right? It's like hell. Yes. But I was thinking actually of the Stalker series. Call to Pripyat is one of the games. Creepy place, I'd imagine. Wonder if we have any Russian viewers currently, if they could tell us what the Pripyat marshes are like. Does anyone live there? You know, what's it like to live in the Pripyat marshes? What do you eat? Yes, Rhodey, we've tried to breed it out of him, but Muso is more the mainstream gamer. We've tried to breed it out of him, but he's not boring enough. He's not nerdy enough to like the games we like as much. But he's learning. He's learning. He's definitely a fan of Call of Duty, and I don't know if you're a fan of Call of Duty. You're certainly a fan of the League of Legends. You see how old I am? Instead of saying League of Legends, I call it the League of Legends. What's wrong with me? It's like instead of saying Pokemon, you say Pokemon. Yes, Pripyat is in Ukraine. Well, not all of Pripyat. Yeah, not so sure about that. You can see here, though, by the way, guys, we are being pounded by the Germans. Probably a lot of units here are Ost brigades. Not really the best brigade. Ost brigades were essentially made out of generally Eastern Europeans that either volunteered with the Germans or were given, you know, in no uncertain terms, but an ultimatum: either join us or we kill you. Ah, they're booming there. Thanks, Amianis. If you're an animal, it's a paradise for you. And in Fukushima. Yeah, I guess with no humans, it would be a pretty nice place to live. But you know, for instance, in the swamps of the United States, in like Louisiana and even the Everglades in Florida, there's a sort of community of people that live in that area, if that makes sense. You know, they're not, I don't want to say they're stupid, because I'm not necessarily sure they are, but they're disheveled looking. You know, they don't have a lot of technology. Occasionally they go into town to like buy food. I wonder if there are people like that live in Pripyat, because there's got to be a lot of food there. You know, obviously, if you put a cage in a swamp, you can maybe get some crawfish, maybe some regular fish, maybe you pull out some eels. I'm sure you could survive there, although I'm sure it wouldn't be an excellent existence. Okay, guys, the Danish Freedom Council calls a general strike to disrupt German communications. So that's an interesting thing the Danes did. The Danes responded to Germany in a lot of different ways. The Japanese invasion of India is defeated at the battles of Kohima and Impal. Japanese pilots begin kamikaze attacks in the Pacific. And this image is basically just one of a kamikaze pilot diving downwards towards certain death and total glory. We've never had a first-person shooter, as far as I know. So one thing we've learned, there's like 10 or 11 different messages going up and down the screen. Obviously, you guys can't see that, but essentially, it's talking about the formation of the Volksgrenadier. The Volksgrenadier were essentially German civilians that were given weapons to fight against the Soviet or Allied invasion. A lot of the times, they'd be given a Panzerfaust. With very little military training, and basically told, look, you know, fight for your country or your family's going to get killed, you're going to get killed, the Russians are going to murder you. Which in terms of the Russians, you know, I'm not calling Russians the bad guys at all in this war. Far from it. I think most wars are gray areas, but the Russians, when they moved into Germany from the east, they were not friendly. And obviously, if you had been Russian and seen what the Germans did to your country, to your family, it's quite possible that you would be the same, that you would be just unforgiving. Sort of goes to that duality of man concept where, you know, we all have a little bit of evil in us. And there's no doubt that when the Russians arrived in Germany, a good portion of them were, I don't want to use the word because it's a bit politically incorrect, but yeah, they would engage in a lot of different activities with the German women. It's unfortunate, but that's what happened. So I'm going to go ahead. There's nothing we can do about this general, and I think Dempsey is going to get blown out of the water. There's nothing we can do to save Dempsey. We can, however, keep extending our reach over here. Yep. I mean, I think it depends. I don't know if the other allies were nearly as unforgiving to civilian populations. I'm not saying that there weren't also you know, massacres done by the Americans or the Canadians or the Brits. I'm sure there were, but the Russians, yeah, I think you have to admit, did it on a much grander scale, and primarily because they had a lot more land to control, and they also probably suffered at the hands of the Germans tremendously in terms of countries more than just about anybody. Let's keep on moving. So we're going to start moving our AVs. We've moved most of them over here, not all of them though. I'm going to attack this unit at Khan. Actually, would have done more damage firing from my armored vehicle there, or my amphibious vehicle, excuse me. Reading about the Vietnam War is a good way to lose your faith in humans, says Carrillo. Yeah, that's for sure. Here we go. All right, guys. We still got that eastern front, excuse me. This is where the Germans really break down, and once you start playing the game, especially if you're playing 1944, just the speed at which these guys advance is incredible. You know, we're not even into Germany yet, but we're going to be there quite soon. We're already into Poland, and it only continues from here. I'm going to try and save these guys. That's right, move back, you dogs. There's that anti-tank support there. Beautiful. Alright, I'm going to go towards Peshov. And I believe I got that pronunciation right. I think it's P-S-K-O-V. I think the K is silent. It would be Peshov. What do you guys drink? I drink nothing. That's why I cough all the time. But quite frankly, I think the whole office has been a little ill, a little, how can I put this? Had a sort of a cold going around. Let's go ahead and keep moving forward. There we go. We're sending in some bombers. There's some German interceptors, but we've got those wonderful Soviet escorts. Thank you, Carlione, for joining us. Good to have you on board. I'm not sure I've seen this before. This is interesting. Hold on a second. Oh, it's gone now. That was weird. So I saw some sort of like red square around the unit. I wasn't sure what that stood for. Maybe it means that the unit is out of fuel or out of ammo, something like this. Alright, we're slowly working these guys down. And we've got this shot from Tarnopol. Now, one thing that you should keep in mind, this thing has 3 shells that it can fire. If you wait 3 turns, you will be able to fire the gun 3 times. If you just wait 1 turn, and I'm only referring to the artillery, you'll be able to fire the gun once or twice, depending. So keep that in mind. Let's keep on moving forward. And just look at this, guys. We haven't even played 2 turns yet on the vanilla campaign, and we've already played this for 40 minutes. That's how incredible this game is in terms of the replay value. There's so much here, such a huge amount here to keep on playing and to find interesting, that it really takes a very long time to run out of things to do. You know, we're only barely scratching the surface here, and we're actually playing in 1944, so it's almost a foregone conclusion that we're going to win. Although don't think like that, because if you think it's a foregone conclusion that you're going to win, you're not going to win. You're going to be stuck in a stalemate for a very, very long time. Let's keep that in mind. Okay, here we got some partisan units, and they've actually popped up near the Pripyat marshes. But I'm actually going to run away from the Germans because I'm actually trying to cut off the rail line. So I don't necessarily want to be engaged in combat. I'd rather be engaged in cutting rail lines and use my main troops for combat purposes. But if I have to, if I've got to do it, I've got to do it. I'm going to send this unit through and attack their artillery. So they know now that we've broken through. And we'll keep firing at Babirusk, although we should have actually brought that unit some reinforcements instead. Wasn't really in a position to do any damage whatsoever. German interceptors. And we've got some escorts. It depends on what scenario you're playing, Byron. It's a great question. This is the closest scenario to the end of the war you can play. And, you know, I would guess 6 to 10 hours if you were playing, like, really quickly. But if you're starting from 1939, obviously, it could take weeks to finish a game. It really could. Just making sure that we've done all the right things here. We're getting closer to Bucharest. And one cool thing is, and I'm not sure why this happened. It may have just been because of the damage I did. But even before taking Bucharest, I was playing a scenario, and I took Brașov, Pitești, Galati, and Constanta around Bucharest, and Romania just surrendered and immediately joined me. So all of the Romanian troops that were on the line here just basically became part of the Red Army. It's a really cool attack into the rest of this area here, of course, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Greece, etc. Really, really fun attack. Anyway, guys, we are getting close to the end of this stream, so if you have any questions left, I would ask you to please ask them now, and we'll see if we can't go ahead and answer them as soon as possible. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why are units not visible on minimap? It's just too big of a map. I mean, I see the units, for instance. I mean, I think if you're talking about like individual units, yeah, that would be a little more complicated. The minimap here, yeah, below the screen. Not sure. I think it's really just sort of a template to know where to go. If you know your countries, shouldn't be too hard for you to find these locations. Best starting scenario setup for beginners. Great question, Cable Nexus. Honestly, 1944. 1944 as the Allies. Alternatively, 1942 as the Germans. I'm not saying you're going to win as the Germans in 1942. In fact, you'll probably get your ass kicked. But you might be able to learn some game mechanics, some future strategies that you could use. So definitely 42 as the Germans or 44 as the Allies. That would be my answer to the best beginner scenario. Yeah, in overview mode, you basically just press, or you just zoom out with your scroll key, and this is overview mode that Dave's talking about. And from here, you can kind of see the situation, more or less. I mean, there's still some hidden units, but you can more or less see what's going on. Obviously, the fog of war still applies, so we're not seeing all the units within Germany, just the ones that our men can spot on the front. Which you haven't gotten, you never... I'm afraid, Zach Blood, that the fact that people think that way is the reason that nobody has any slips. Sometimes a penny is a penny, and it's still good to keep in your pocket and not waste. All right. What's that saying? Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And then George Carlin gave a little different outlook onto that saying pretty quickly. There we go. Paris is getting hit quite hard. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and stop the stream here. We've done about an hour and 45 minutes, give or take. I hope you guys have enjoyed so far. I hope you guys enjoyed the scenarios. We'll talk with Hubert Cater and the rest of the folks, see if we can't figure out a way so that next time we stream Strategic Command, we can actually show you guys the pictures, etc. But I really want to thank Hubert Cater for showing up. Every time I play a Strategic Command map, I see his name there. So seeing his name, I was a little bit starstruck. It was pretty cool. Cool to see him stop in for a bit. And thank you so much, guys, for stopping in, as always. We will be coming back with some more action later this week, but probably not Strategic Command. We'll have to see how we feel. So I'm going to save this game because I want to come back to this. So we're going to call this 1944. Save. Oh, thanks, Musso. So Musso's sharing our channels. We do ask you guys to please go and subscribe to our YouTube channels if you haven't already. It's a really great way to help the company as a whole. It helps all of us. All right, guys, I am out of here. Probably going to go grab a cup of water. Hope you all have an excellent, excellent day.